The final note that I'd written up after going through this was that we shouldn't be encouraging faith. We shouldn't be taking a step backward toward the days when the world was ruled by ignorance, religious edict, and superstition. The God concept and the religious trappings like creationism and the efficacy of prayer are just as unproven, unrealistic, and unreliable as feng shui, astrology, palm reading, magnet therapy, and talking to the dead. You can't have, well, you can, you shouldn't have a separate set of evidentiary rules to cover your concept of God than you do for anything else. If I tell you I have a pet dragon and you say that's nonsense because I can't prove it, you shouldn't then be able to come back and say that you have a God, but you can't prove it, and it's still not nonsense. You have to have higher standards for that when you're talking about, actually making an argument. If you choose to believe it despite the evidence to the contrary, or in the face of little evidence to support it, that's fine. It's your personal decision. But when you start pushing that belief on others, you need to have some kind of reasonable, rational explanation if you plan to be convincing at all.
Yeah, and I think that in reality, skepticism is the norm of the way people act rather than the exception. Because, if you receive an email that says, "Hello, I am an obscure businessman living in Nigeria, and I think that you should send me your bank account information so I can deposit $10 million. A few people actually fall for that, believe it or not, but most of us don't, I hope. And all I'm saying is it's healthy to be skeptical, and it's usually not healthy to suspend your skepticism and say, okay, this thing I'll just believe because it's a nice thing to believe, and believing in it will make me happy, because it might turn out that it doesn't.
Yeah, which is more likely, that there's somebody who wants to give you $10 million, or somebody who created you, died on the cross for you, and wants to give you eternal life? I mean, at least the guy who claims that he wants to give me $10 million, I know exactly what $10 million is conceptually. I know that somewhere $10 million exists. I have evidence that shows that the guy who wrote to tell me he wants to give me $10 million, I have evidence that he exists in this writing.
Somebody
and
must have sent
I can
him, yeah.
find out who he is. So there's far more convincing evidence to support the idea that somebody wants to give me $10 million. So why is it far easier for people to believe that there's a creator God who loves you and wants you to hang out and play a harp forever, yet they're instantly skeptical of the guy who wants to give them $10 million?